glad to see each one of you here this morning. Seems like fall has finally arrived. Nice and cool this morning, a little frost on the pumpkin. If you have a pumpkin, and there's frost in somewhere else too. Pardon? Yeah, there's frost on the windshield this morning. It sure was. Would you bow with me as we begin our class? Father, we come before you this morning. We wake up and look outside this morning and we're reminded just so much that you are in control, that you are the creator, and you are in control. We thank you for the change of seasons that reminds us of that in such dramatic form. We ask now that you be with us as we study. Help us to understand your word. Not only understand, but put into our lives the principles that we learn when we do study. Help us in that effort. It's through Jesus that we pray. Amen. Okay, we are kind of in the final chapters of Genesis. I suspect most of you are pretty happy. This is 3/4 of this. Been quite an experience for me anyway. But we have Jacob and his family ensconced in Egypt. They are all there. It's nearing the end of Jacob's life, and we know that he has been given a total of 17 years in Egypt. And we'll pick up in chapter 48. Now it came to pass after these things that Joseph was told, "Indeed, your father is sick." And he took with him his 2 sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. Now these things refers back to Jacob has been visiting with Joseph about the end of his life, and Jacob has asked Joseph to bury him, or not bury him in Egypt, but let me lie with my fathers. So after that, then Joseph is informed that Jacob is ill. So he takes his 2 sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. I think sometimes we just kind of think of those 2 boys as being kind of youngsters because they're referred to as lads. But we can get fairly close to their age. Joseph was made co-ruler at age 30. He went through 7 years of plenty, which would have made him 37. He identified himself to his brothers in the 2nd year of famine, which would have made him 39. The family returned shortly after that, and Jacob is going to be there 17 years. So that would make Joseph 56 when Jacob dies. Does anybody remember when the boys were born? Now again, Joseph was made co-ruler at age 30. He was given a wife. Genesis 41, chapter 41, verse 50. And to Joseph were born 2 sons before the years of famine. So, say it was at the last year, he would have been 57 or 37. So those boys would have been around 20 years old when this occurred. We know when they were born. We know when Jacob died. So they would have been what we would consider fully of age. As young maybe as 19, but more likely 20 or 21. So they were not just young sprouts. And Jacob was told, "Look, your son Joseph is coming to you." And Israel strengthened himself and sat up on the bed. This news that Joseph was coming to see him kind of revived him a little bit, strengthened him. So he sat up on the bed. Jacob said to Joseph, "God Almighty appeared to me at Luz in the land of Canaan, blessed me and said to me, 'Behold, I will make you fruitful and multiply you. I will make of you a multitude of people and give this land to your descendants after you as an everlasting possession.'" Now that's just a reiteration of the promises that were made. They've made 2 or 3 times in chapters 28 and 35. This promise was made to Jacob. "And now your 2 sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, who were born to you in the land of Egypt, before I came to you in Egypt, are mine. As Reuben and Simeon, they shall be mine." He is what we would call formally adopting these 2 grandsons as his own sons. The purpose will be made clear in the next few verses. "Your offspring, whom you beget after them, shall be yours. They will be called by the name of their brothers in their inheritance. If you have any more children, they will be yours, and they will not receive any additional inheritance, but will live in the inheritance that I give your 2 sons. But as for me, when I came from Paddan, Rachel died beside me in the land of Canaan on the way, when there was but a little distance to go to Ephrath, and I buried her there on the way to Ephrath, that is Bethlehem. Then Israel saw Joseph's sons and said, 'Who are these?'" Kind of an unusual statement to make because he's already been visiting with them. He's been talking about those 2 boys. It's almost as if he was making a formal declaration here. Who are these? He's going to be told. Joseph said to his father, "They are my sons whom God has given me in this place. These are the 2 boys that you have been talking about." And he said, "Please bring them to me, and I will bless them." Now the eyes of Israel were dim with age, so that he could not see. Then Joseph brought him near him, and he kissed them and embraced them. And Israel said to Joseph, "I had not thought to see your face, but in fact God has also shown me your offspring." And what a change that is. Of course, he's had some time to appreciate this, but he's gone from 20 years of thinking that his son was dead. Now here he is standing before him with his 2 grandsons that are fully of age. God has also shown me your offspring. So Joseph brought them from beside his knees, and he bowed down with his face to the earth. And Joseph took them both, Ephraim with his right hand toward Israel's left hand, and Manasseh with his left hand toward Israel's right hand, and brought them near him. He is placing them such that when Jacob simply puts his right hand out, it will be on the head of Manasseh. Puts his left hand, it would be on the head of Ephraim. Manasseh being the oldest and receiving the right hand. Then Israel stretched out his right hand and laid it on Ephraim's head, who was the younger, and his left hand on Manasseh's head, guiding his heads knowingly, for Manasseh was the firstborn. So instead of doing this, he does this, so that his right hand is on the hand of the younger Ephraim. And he blessed Joseph and said, God, before whom my fathers Abraham and Isaac walked, the God who has fed me all my life long to this day, the angel who has redeemed me from all evil, bless these lads. He's recognizing God for what he is, that he has fed him, he has protected him, he has visited him in the form of an angel. Bless these lads, let my name be named upon them. Let those blessings which were given to me pass down to them. And the name of my fathers Abraham and Isaac, and let them grow into a multitude in the midst of the earth. You know, one of the consistent phrases throughout the Bible has been, be fruitful and multiply. Here it's stated, let them grow into a multitude in the midst of the earth. We know that at the time of the Exodus, Manasseh's family has grown into 32,500. Ephraim, over 40,000 in 400 years. They have grown into a multitude. Now, when Joseph saw that his father laid his right hand on the head of Ephraim, it displeased him. So he took hold of his father's hand to remove it from Ephraim's head to Manasseh's head. Joseph said to his father, Not so, my father, for this one is the firstborn. Put your right hand on his head. Joseph is trying to rectify what he considers a mistake. That Jacob is actually going to bless the younger more than the older. But his father refused and said, I know, my son, I know. He also shall become a people, and he also shall be great. But truly his younger brother shall be greater than he, and his descendants shall become a multitude of nations. We don't know just a whole lot about Manasseh. He's not mentioned all that much as we go through, some. Manasseh did supply some troops. The tribe did supply some troops for Gideon. They also joined with the group when they were unifying with David. Ephraim, on the other hand, is pretty well known. Ephraim was very much a leader of the people. He was the one that took the lead in the rebellion when the northern kingdom split away from the southern kingdom. In fact, if you go to Hosea, throughout most of that book, Ephraim is used as a name for the northern kingdom. So Ephraim becomes very much a leader of the people. It's kind of ironic that here Joseph's children lead the people to break away, and they're the first to disappear. You know, the northern kingdom goes away into captivity long before Judah. But that's God's plan. So he blessed them that day, saying, By you Israel will bless them, saying, May God make you as Ephraim and as Manasseh. And thus he set Ephraim before Manasseh. Ephraim will be the greater. Then Israel said to Joseph, Behold, I am dying, but God will be with you and bring you back to the land of your fathers. Moreover, I have given to you one portion above your brothers, which I took from the hand of the Amorite with my sword and my bow. That last phrase there, which I took from the hand of the Amorite with my sword and my bow. I just don't know of any instance where Jacob did anything militarily. The reading that I did, the only thing that was suggested was that perhaps there was more to the events at Shechem than we were told. Shechem is where Simeon and Levi destroyed Shechem, killing all of the men, all of the people, to avenge the rape of their sister. You know, that's pure speculation. Does anybody have any thoughts on what this could be? Took from the hand of the Amorite with my sword and my bow. The other option is that this is looking forward to the physical conquest when the people leave Egypt and start conquering Canaan. That they it takes military action to take it away from the Canaanites. I guess to me that's the most likely, because we just simply, in the narrative of Jacob's life, don't see him in any case taking up his sword and his bow. So here we have really the full complement of what's going to happen in Egypt and when they leave. We have Manasseh and Ephraim getting the double portion, passed through Joseph. Joseph has now supplanted all of his brothers in at least that portion of the birthright, the part that receives the double portion. Okay, any thoughts or questions or comments on chapter 48? That really sets the stage for a lot of events that are going to happen. A quiet class this morning, huh? Just be prepared. I've got a test for you. We'll get to it today. If we don't get it today, we'll get it next week. There will be a test. Okay, chapter 49. Jacob called his sons and said, "Gather together that I may tell you what shall befall you in the last days. Gather together and hear, you sons of Jacob, and listen to Israel your father." And what's going to follow here is one of the most interesting chapters in all of Genesis, because he's going to go son by son and talk about the past and the future. And in many ways, this is a fairly complete summary of what's going to happen throughout, particularly Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges. A lot of the things are going to be fulfilled during that period of time. We could literally probably spend a quarter just on this chapter, looking at the promises that were made, the personalities that are involved. So I've really struggled in trying to cover this in enough detail that it makes sense and not just be overwhelming in trying to do it in a few minutes. So if you get lost, raise your hand. I probably can't find you, but there is a lot that's going to happen in these next few verses. Reuben, and the chapter is organized such that the sons of Leah are going to be discussed first. Then the sons of the two concubines, and they're going to be a little mixed, and finish up with the sons of Joseph, with Benjamin and Joseph. Okay, Reuben, you are my firstborn. We know that he was the first, born to Leah, my might and the beginning of my strength. Most believe that this is referring to the fact that Jacob has a large family, the 12 sons. That is more than either Abraham or Isaac had, and that is the beginning of his strength. The excellency of dignity and the excellency of power. Reuben had a lot to recommend him early. You remember when the brothers were going to kill Joseph? Reuben is the one that wanted to cast him in the pit, with the idea being that when everyone left, he could come back and rescue him. So he had a lot of redeeming features. But then verse 4, unstable as water, you shall not succeed. You know, some versions have like boiling water. The idea here is that Reuben is turbulent, reckless, wanton, lust, frivolity, pride. He's a little bit, I guess looking at that list, our euphemism might be shoot from the hip, quick to judge, but unstable as water, turbulent. Because you went up to your father's bed, then you defiled it. He went up to my couch. That is the event that disqualified Reuben from much of the heritage of being the firstborn. That he defiled his father's concubine. And if we look through much of the Old Testament, we don't find any leader that comes from the tribe of Reuben. In Numbers 32, that tribe was the first to ask for a place to settle, even before they had entered the land. They built an unauthorized place to worship. They refused Deborah's call to arms. Most of the land that they were given was actually east of the Jordan River. So they didn't have just a real good history with the people after the Exodus, after they're trying to conquer the land. Simeon and Levi are brothers. Instruments of cruelty are in their dwelling place. Let not my soul enter their council. Let not my honor be united to their assembly. For in their anger they slew a man, and in their self-will they hamstrung an ox. Cursed be their anger, for it is fierce, and their wrath, for it is cruel. I will divide them in Jacob and scatter them in Israel. These two brothers seem to be joined at the hip. They are linked in this prophecy based on what they did as a group, as a twosome, when they attacked Shechem and killed all those people. Let not my soul enter their counsel. Apparently Jacob never forgave them for that. He doesn't want to be around them. Let not my soul enter their counsel. Let not my honor be united to their assembly. He does not want his reputation and his honor being linked to what they did. In their anger, they slew a man. We're told about that. In their self-will, they hamstrung an ox. This is the only place that we see that. We don't know specifically what it's referring to. Most likely, that was something that they did when they were destroying Shechem. They even took their livestock and made them unusable for anyone else. Cursed be their anger, for it is fierce, and their wrath, for it is cruel. I will divide them in Jacob and scatter them in Israel. I think we know and we understand what's going to happen to the Levites. They are consistently throughout the Bible, that is the priestly tribe. We know that they were not a landed tribe. They were given some cities to live in. The other people were to support them, the other tribes. But what about Simeon? What was Simeon given? Was he a landed tribe? Did he receive land like the other brothers? Think about it a little bit. Joshua 19. I'm going to begin the reading in verse 1. The second lot came out for Simeon, for the tribe of the children of Simeon according to their families. And this is where the land is being divided among the people. And their inheritance was within the inheritance of the children of Judah. Simeon's inheritance was within those lands. They had in their inheritance, and it lists some cities, several cities, and all the villages that were all around these cities. This was the inheritance of the tribe of the children of Simeon according to their families. The inheritance of the children of Simeon was included in the share of the children of Judah, for the share of the children of Judah was too much for them. Therefore, the children of Simeon had their inheritance within the inheritance of that people. I guess it's not totally proper to say they were not landed, but what they received were cities within the inheritance of Judah. We do have an account later on of them moving out and actually going outside of Canaan and conquering some land to live in. But they were not treated the same as the other brothers. In many ways, they were joined at the hip and treated a lot like the Levites, except they did not have the priestly duties that was given to the Levites. Almost as if Simeon was the leader of that. Anyway, surely that sparked some questions or comments. Wow. You, okay.
Well, the way I looked at it, and I really hadn't thought of this until you brought it up, but it is interesting how the inheritance for Simeon is, unless I'm wrong, I don't think these cities and villages are exactly next to each other. So they were scattered within Judah,
throughout.
and Levi was scattered within the whole of Israel. So I think that is very interesting.
Yeah. They were a scattered group. Simeon was the smallest tribe. In Numbers 26, they numbered 22,200, and that was in the second census. They were the smallest group. They moved outside Canaan. If you want to look at that reference, that's 1 Chronicles chapter 4. And it's also interesting that in Deuteronomy chapter 33, Moses goes through the tribes and blesses each one of them. But Simeon is not mentioned in that blessing. They appear to be the first tribe that entirely loses its identity, even before the captivity, even before the Assyria conquers the northern kingdom. Simeon has already disappeared from the record. Okay, any more on those two? Judah, you are he whom your brothers shall praise. And we've already seen Judah go from pretty much an outcast. He left the family immediately after Joseph was sold. He moved to Canaan, raised a family. You know, we've gone through all of that. But he came back, and toward the end, he assumed leadership, the role of leader, especially when dealing with Joseph before Joseph identified himself as his brother. And even after that, Jacob would choose Judah to be his representative on a couple of occasions. You are he whom your brothers shall praise. Your hand shall be on the neck of your enemies. Any idea when that takes place? When does the hand of Judah really put his, how does that phrased again? Shall be on the neck of your enemies. Oh, come on now.
Well, definitely when David, became king, he was definitely putting, a hurt, if you will, on his enemies at that point.
Sure. David was of the tribe of Judah. He united all of the other tribes and pretty much conquered the land. That's certainly a very specific fulfillment of hand on the neck of your enemies. Your father's children shall bow down before you. All of the tribes got together and came to David and volunteered to join. That may not be a literal bowing down, but it's certainly recognizing the lineage of Judah as being the leader and the uniter in the form of David. Judah is a lion's whelp. From the prey, my son, you have gone up. He bows down. He lies down as a lion, and as a lion, who shall rouse him? You know, in the time of David and Solomon, there wasn't many enemies who were willing to face them. Who shall rouse him? The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet until Shiloh comes. I think everyone seems to believe that this is looking forward to Jesus, that this is a messianic prophecy. But it's difficult because where else is Shiloh used as a reference to the Messiah? It's really not. Most of the time that we see the word Shiloh, it's a geographic name. This may well have its first fulfillment in terms of what we've just been talking about, when David and Solomon united the people, with the ultimate fulfillment being when Jesus comes on the scene. The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet until Shiloh comes. Can anybody help me out on that one? That is a difficult passage. It certainly seems to have its fulfillment in Jesus. But looking at all the parts, it's kind of hard to get there. And to him shall be the obedience of the people. To him shall be the obedience of the people. Binding his donkey to the vine, and his donkey's colt to the choice vine. What is that? How do we handle that one? Would you tie your horse to a grapevine? Probably wouldn't have any grapes or a vine, either one. I don't know if horses eat grapes or not, but I think this is the image here, that if you did something like that, it would destroy whatever they were tied to. He washed his garments in wine. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't finish that thought. They would destroy it, but they have plenty. Okay. I think the image that's trying to be portrayed here is that they have material things in abundance. They could do that and have that vine be destroyed and not be hurt by it. He washed his garments in wine and his clothes in the blood of grapes. It's probably not a literal thing that happens, could be. But again, the image is that they have enough of the wine and the grapes that they can use it for inferior things. His eyes are darker than wine, and his teeth whiter than milk. What image comes to mind when you look at those few verses in that regard? Does anybody have an image of a person that lived a life like that? I think of Solomon. Had everything he wanted. He could do all of these things and never miss a beat. Never realize that he had lost anything. Okay, I think I covered all my notes on that one. Any thoughts there? You agree or disagree or? Silence. I don't know how to take silence. Zebulun shall dwell by the haven of the sea. He shall become a haven for ships, and his border shall adjoin Sidon. Not much said about Zebulun, except the place that he's going to live. And that creates a little bit of, when you read the description of where that is, Zebulun actually does not live on the seacoast, or the land is not on the coast. But it is on a river that has an estuary that is a great port area, so that much of the trade coming from both north and south can come up that river into the area of Zebulun. One of the unusual things is that Zebulun and Ishkar are reversed in birth order here. Ishkar is actually an older son of Leah than Zebulun. And in comparing, well, I won't do that one just yet. In Judges 6, Zebulun joined others against Midian. Ishkar did not. When all the tribes joined David, Zebulun contributed the largest army. 58,000 men joined David. Ishkar. Ishkar is a strong donkey lying down between two burdens. Now, you've probably got, this is the New King James. There is apparently a difficulty in translating these two burdens, because in other versions it's sheepfolds, cattle pens, saddlebags. That apparently has been a very difficult translation for the people. But Ishkar is strong. He saw the rest was good and the land was pleasant. He bowed his shoulders to bow a burden and became a band of slaves. Ishkar was strong, had everything going for him, yet something happened and he became a band of slaves. Now, trying to compare Zebulun and Ishkar, Ishkar is strong but passive. Zebulun is strong and not passive. Ishkar was attacked by a group consisting of the Midianites, Amalekites, and sons of the east. And rather than trying to rally his forces or rally any support, they simply surrendered and literally became slaves. When Gideon was trying to put together an army to go against this group, didn't even invite Ishkar, made no attempt to bring them into that group of allies. Two people, two close brothers, but vastly different personalities. One had every possibility of being very strong, yet he was passive, made no attempt to fight back, and as a result became a group of slaves. Okay? That is the end of the family of Leah, of Leah's sons. Now we're going into the concubines, and the first one is Dan. Dan is the son of Bilhah. Dan shall judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Who was the most famous Danite of all? When you think of that tribe, does anyone come to mind? I see some faces up there that absolutely know it, but you're afraid to say. Samson. Samson judged his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Dan shall be a serpent by the way, a viper by the path that bites the horse's heels, so that its rider shall fall backward. I have waited for your salvation, O Lord. This is one of those that I don't think anyone will stand up and say they know for sure exactly what's in view here, what's in mind. But we know probably more about Samson, and this kind of fits Samson's activities. He was a serpent by the way. He killed a lot of people. Riders shall fall backwards. That kind of fits. I have waited for your salvation, O Lord. I don't know. That's one of those that we just don't know a lot about. Gad. A troop shall tramp upon him, but he shall triumph at last. Gad occupied somewhat of a unique geographic position. He was kind of to the east. He was surrounded to the north and east and south by enemies. To the south was the Moabites, the Ammonites to the east, and the Arameans to the northeast. He was and developed a very strong physical presence. He had to survive those enemies. A troop shall tramp upon him, but he shall triumph at last. They were constantly after him, but he always seemed to find a way to prevail. If you want to read more about that, 1 Chronicles chapter 12 and Deuteronomy chapter 33. Bread from Asher shall be rich, and he shall yield royal dainties. They received some of the most fertile land in all of Canaan. Their land shall be rich, and they grew everything, including growing soft. They were some of the first to fall away. They had things too easy. So they began with idols and falling away from God's plan probably as early as anyone. And it did not take them long to let their riches get the best of them. Naphtali is a deer let loose. He uses beautiful words. I just simply don't have anything looking forward to do that. Naphtali is a deer let loose. He uses beautiful words. Don't know what that means. If anybody does, help me. I will do some more looking over this week, but nothing that I could find, nobody had any idea how to take those words into future events. It just seems like uses of beautiful words. He was well spoken. He was erudite. Okay? We'll start with Joseph next week.